Shalom, welcome to day one of the Daniel program. Very exciting. I've been waiting for so long for this day to come, and here it is. Now, this is how we're going to start each day. You see this? Nice clean glass, nice clean water. In my country, and most likely in your country, for me to get that, I can just walk to the nearest tap, turn the tap, fill the glass up. I've got beautiful, clean, drinking water. Look at that. You can see me through it. That's how clean that is. There are 2 billion people on Earth who don't have access to that. So each day of this 10-day program, we're going to wake up, and the first thing we're going to do is drink a glass of water. And not just drink a glass of water, but look at it, see how clean it is, taste it, feel it, going down our throat and into our system. And we're going to thank God for this water, this living water that He's given us. Because 25% of the world's population do not have access to clean drinking water. So regardless of what else is happening in our life, we need to thank God for the fact that we are able to wake up and turn on a tap and drink life-giving water. They say you can last 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and 3 minutes without breath. If you do not have water in the Australian desert, you'll die. You'll die within 12 hours. Water is life. It is so precious. And yet, 1 out of every 4 people on Earth do not have access to clean water. So praise Yah. Thank you, God. So, that's the first thing we'll do. Welcome to the Daniel program. This is day 1. There'll be a different theme on each of the days. The days are separation, humility, wisdom, purity, discipline, compassion, faith, integrity, perseverance, and understanding. It's going to be an exciting journey. It's going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be difficult. But I also believe it's going to be life-changing. I believe it'll be life-changing. So today is the day of separation. Before we get into that, let me just talk about what I'm going to eat today. Because as we know in the book of Daniel, they only ate vegetables or lentils, if you want to call it. The word is zeroa, something that's been planted. They only ate zeroa and they only drank water. So as for me personally, I'm only going to drink this. I'm not going to drink green tea. I'm not going to drink coffee. For me, it's just water. And it's also just vegetables. No vegan products containing vegetables that you get from the shelf, just vegetables. So today, I'm going to eat mushrooms and snow peas. Let's talk about mushrooms and snow peas. Mushrooms, and by the way, this is from the internet. I'm not a registered health practitioner. I can't have an opinion. I know that. So this is from the internet. Mushrooms are nutritional powerhouses, packed with essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. They boost immune function. They lower cholesterol. They support brain health. My wife says I should eat lots of them. And they provide a unique dietary source of vitamin D when exposed to UV light. This is amazing. I only learnt this about 3 months ago. I always thought that the only source of vitamin D we can get is from direct sunlight, right? We should be spending time in the sun, absolutely. Especially if you are darker skinned. My wife she's African. She needs to spend a lot more time in the sun than I do because my skin drinks in the vitamin D from the sun a lot quicker than dark skin, this is why it's a problem where you see a lot of African youths in the cities dressing up like American gangsters with the great big baseball hat on. No, they need the sunlight. They need the sunlight. So I thought we could only get sunlight, vitamin D from the sun, but I've since found out that you can get vitamin D from sunflower seeds, and that makes sense. Like, have you ever seen a sunflower seed paddock, a paddock full of sunflowers? I've seen them. There's one about an hour to the east of here where all of these massive big yellow sunflowers They follow the sun, and you can find time-lapse videos online of these paddocks of sunflowers following the sun. So the whole day they spend their face staring at the sun. So it makes sense that sunflower seeds will drink in all this vitamin D from the sun, and then when you eat it, you're getting vitamin D from a food source. But mushrooms are completely the opposite. They spend their whole life with their face looking at the dirt, and they've got a covering, which I call their back, towards the sun. So they never get to see the sun. In fact, mushrooms that are grown commercially are grown indoors, in sheds. So, but when you get mushrooms, this is amazing. You get yourself a plate of mushrooms. Before you eat them, put them face up and put them in direct sunlight for 15 minutes. Obviously, you don't want to do that where there's birds or cats or whatever around. But if you put them in direct sunlight for 15 minutes or longer, they will drink in vitamin D from the sun. And you chop them and eat them, and you're getting vitamin D. I think that is unbelievable. That is amazing. So today, I'm going to eat mushrooms. What about snow peas? Snow peas, they're nice. We all know that. But they are also highly nutritious. They are low calorie and they are low fat. They are packed with fiber, packed with vitamin C, and packed with vitamin K. And they offer targeted health benefits such as improved digestion, stronger immunity, regulated blood sugar, and enhanced eye health. Now I'm going to eat these raw. So I'm going to eat the mushrooms and the snow peas. I'm going to cut them up. I'm going to eat them raw because heat will destroy vitamin C. That's a fact. So you are better off to eat the stuff raw. That's why you never see anyone cooking oranges, because vitamin C, there's no point eating an orange if it's got no vitamin C. So once I cut up my mushrooms and my snow peas, I'm going to have some onion, garlic, and ginger, which I'm going to cook in a fry pan, but I'm not using olive oil. For me, olive oil is a delicacy. I'm not going to use it. That's just my thing. If I had an olive tree in the backyard full of olives, and if I had an oil press, I would use it. But just because it's... Anyway, for me, I'm not going to eat olive oil for 10 days, or salt. So I will fry the onion, garlic, and ginger in lemon juice and water. So a little bit, tablespoon of water, 1 lemon juice. I'll fry that up until it's cooked. When it's cool, I'll add it to the mushrooms and snow peas, and that is my meal for today. And I'm going to put some chili flakes on top. So that is me and my food for today. Right. Also, each day of this 10-day program, I'm going to give you a task. A task, all right? And I don't need you to tell me, oh, I've done my task for today. It's up to you, but each day is going to be a task. Now today, your task is to, and I'll put a link in the description of this video, which will take you to a BMI calculator, a body mass index calculator. Again, this is something I only discovered about 10 weeks ago. A body mass index calculator. And I want you to put in your biometrics. So it asks for your age, your gender, your height, and your weight. Then you hit calculate, and it will tell you what your body mass index is. Now, I have pretty much for the last 21 years, since I stopped playing competitive football, I've walked on this earth at around about 100 kilograms, which in the States is 220 pounds. I know it's too much. But I've never thought that it was too much. Like I know I should be lighter. When I played football, I was 80 kilograms. And now I'm 100 and I'm walking around. I know it's too much, but I'm also healthy. So I've never really worried too much about it. And over the 20 years, I've weighed myself, and occasionally I'll see, oh my God, I'm 102.7 or something. And so I'll walk, I'll start to swim, I'll eat a bit less, I'll fast, and then I'll weigh myself again, and I'm back down to 98.3, and I'm happy. So 100's always been my red flag, right? Once I get over that, not happy. Under it, fine. Even if it's 99.6, fine, no problems. However, I discovered this BMI calculator, body mass index calculator. And I put in my age, 54, gender, male, height, 177 centimeters, and weight, which was 98.5, this was about 10 weeks ago, hit the button, and guess what happened? There's a needle that goes like this, And it rested there, 31.4, a BMI of 31.4. That is obese. What? I'm not obese. Come, I'll take you down the street of my city. I'll show you what obese is. That's not me. I'm not obese. What are you talking about? Obese? I know I'm a little bit heavy, but no, I'm not obese. Are you serious? Yes, this is what it's telling me. I'm obese. 31.4 is obese. I don't feel obese, but this is what the BMI calculator tells me I am. So that was 10 weeks ago, 98.5. Since then, I have managed to drop over 4 kilos, and I'm now 94.2, which if I recalculate that, now I'm right on the threshold of overweight and obese. Amazing. I've been healthy. I take care of my health for so long. I've got a pretty easy job. I'm not overly active, but I've never ever thought of myself as being obese. Overweight, yeah, you know, I can understand that. I'm carrying a bit too much, I shouldn't. But even now, according to this, I'm right on the edge, 30.1. So under 30 is overweight, over 30 is obese. I'm 30.1, so technically I'm still obese. This is shocking to me. So look, if you're 25 and you're fit, you're fine. You don't need to do this. But if you're like me, if you feel like you're okay, but you know you're a little bit, do this. Do this. Google, I'll put the link in the description. Go to the BMI calculator and find out what your body mass index is. You might be shocked. And if you're over 50, like me, you need to understand the older that we get, the harder it is to lose. So this 10-day program, I'm 94.2 now on day 1. I'm going to reweigh myself on day 10 or day 11 and find out where this BMI is. And you do the same, because I'm guaranteeing you, if you stick to the program, I'm thinking I'm going to be down near close to 92.0. So I reckon I'll be dropping 2 kilos at least, probably 2.5, maybe 3 over the next 10 days. Let's see. Okay, the other thing we are going to do in this 10 days is we are going to concentrate on Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58. It says, "Is not this the fast that I choose, to release the bonds of wickedness, to untie the cords of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, and to tear off every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, to bring the homeless poor into your house, when you see the naked to cover him, not hide yourself from your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will spring up speedily. Your righteousness will go before you, the glory of Adonai as your rear guard. Then you will call, and he will answer. You will cry, and he will say, here I am. If you get rid of the yoke among you, finger pointing and bad mouthing, if you give yourself to the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted soul, then your light will rise in darkness, and your gloom will be like the midday sun. Then Adonai will guide you continually, satisfy your soul in drought, and strengthen your bones. You will be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail." This is unbelievable. And this is directed to us. Yes, we are going to do a Daniel program. It may also be called a Daniel fast. It depends on how you're going to do it. For me, I'm going to eat 1 meal a day. So I'm sort of am fasting. But if that's all I'm doing, if all I'm doing is reducing my BMI, if all I'm doing is getting myself healthy, what am I really doing? This is the fast he really wants. And Jesus, he clarifies this even further in Matthew 25, the sheep and the goats. Not only is this something we should do, this is something we must do. We must. And so I'm calling this a Big Mac meal challenge. Every day for 10 days, I'm going to donate the price of a Big Mac meal in my town, which is $15. So $15 a day, $15 will buy you a Big Mac meal, which you will eat, and 2 hours later, you are hungry again. $15 will also feed 45 kids in a Kenyan orphanage. 45. So if I put $15 a day aside, and after the 10 days, I've got $150, I'm going to send that to an orphanage in Kenya. My wife will do the same. I'll put a link in the description to the orphanage, and you can do the same. And look, this is not just about giving to the poor. You need to read Isaiah 58. Familiarize yourself with Isaiah 58. This is very, very spiritual. Very spiritual. So please join me in that, the Big Mac Meal Challenge. Okay, day 1, separation. Start off with reading James, the New Testament Torah, James, chapter 4, verses 1 to 4. Where does fighting and striving come from among you? Do they not come from your pleasures that battle in your members? You desire and do not have. You murder and are jealous and are unable to obtain. You strive and fight and you do not possess because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask evilly in order to spend it on your pleasures. Adulterers and adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore intends to be a friend of the world makes themselves an enemy of God. My goodness. This is 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 and 16. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in them. Because all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and this word flesh is a Greek word, it's sarx, S-A-R-X, sarx, flesh. It means the meat of an animal that has had the skin removed. That's what it means. People say lust of flesh, it means you're looking at young girls, and you've got this desire for them. No. Lust of flesh, the Greek word is sarx. It means the meat of an animal. That's the literal meaning. Lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father. It's of the world. If you have a lust of flesh, it's not from the Father. It's of the world. And the world passes away and the lust of it, but the one doing the will of God remains forever. Hallelujah. This is James 4, 1 to 4, and 1 John 2, 15, 16. So read those in your spare time today as well. Okay. Separation. If you look at the screen of your smartphone right now or walk down any city street, you will notice one undeniable truth. We live in a world that is desperately, relentlessly fighting for your attention. Every advertisement tells us we are one purchase away from happiness. Every social media feed tells us we are one follower, one like, or one subscribe away from being validated. We are swimming in a sea of worldly desires. The desire for comfort, for status, for wealth, and for approval. But as followers of the way, we are constantly feeling a quiet, steady tug in the opposite direction. It's a calling to something higher, something deeper. On day 1 of this program, I want to talk about what it means to intentionally separate ourselves from these worldly desires so that we can focus entirely on God's kingdom. This isn't about moving into a cave or going out into a desert and hiding from society. It's about a posture of the heart. It's about deciding who gets to define our worth and what we are living for. To understand why this separation is so vital, we have to look at that brutal warning given to us in the New Testament Torah, the book of Jacob, who is known in English Bibles as James. Chapter 4, verse 4 says, Adulterers and adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore intends to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. These are heavy, uncomfortable words. Friendship with the world. James isn't talking about enjoying a beautiful sunset or loving the people in our communities. He's talking about adopting the world's value system, a system that is built on pride, on self-worship, and the illusion that we can satisfy our souls without God. Think of it like a marriage. You cannot be fully devoted to your spouse if you are constantly looking for intimacy elsewhere. When we try to keep one foot in God's kingdom and one foot in the world's desires, we aren't just stretching ourselves thin, we are compromising our spiritual integrity. We are trying to serve two masters, something that Jesus taught us is impossible. Separating ourselves from worldly desires starts with a sobering realization. We cannot flirt with the values of this culture and expect to stay faithful to our King. So what does it look like to separate ourselves when the pressure to conform is all around us? What does separation actually look like in real time? Our example is Daniel. Daniel was ripped away from his home, his family and his culture, dragged into the heart of Babylon, the ultimate symbol of worldly power and indulgence. The empire wanted to brainwash him. They wanted him to look like a Babylonian, to think like a Babylonian, to worship like a Babylonian. And they started by offering him the finest things that the empire had to offer. But in Daniel chapter 1 verse 8, we read, "But Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way." Purposed in his heart. He drew a line in the sand. He said, "I may be entering into Babylon, but Babylon will never enter into me." For us, our royal food might be the subtle pressure to compromise our honesty at work in order to get ahead. It might be the media that we consume that slowly erodes our purity. It might be the obsession with material success. We need this Daniel resolution. We need to decide before the temptation arrives where our boundaries are. When we talk about separating ourselves from worldly desires, it can sometimes feel like we are just focusing on what we have to give up. Sounds like a life of restriction. But the gospel never asks us to empty our hands without filling them with something infinitely better. In Matthew 5:6, as he taught his chosen disciples, Jesus makes a radical promise. "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." The problem with worldly desires isn't just that they are wrong, it's that they are shallow. They are broken cisterns that cannot hold water. You can chase the money, the praise, and the comfort all you like, and you will wake up thirsty every single morning. But Jesus says when you shift your appetite, when you stop hungering for what the world offers and start hungering and thirsting for righteousness, for God's character, and for his kingdom, you will be filled. Not temporarily satisfied, but deeply, eternally content. Separation from the world is not about starvation. It's about redirection. It's realizing that the cheap thrills of Babylon can never compare to the rich feasts of God's presence. The world and its desires will pass away. The empires of this earth, just like ancient Babylon, will eventually crumble. The things we stress over, collect, and chase after will ultimately turn to dust. But God's kingdom is eternal. Let us have the clarity of James to see the danger of compromising with culture. Let us have the courage of Daniel to purpose in our hearts that we will not defile ourselves with the temporary pleasures around us. And let us have the spiritual hunger that Jesus spoke of, a hunger that can only be satisfied by the King of Kings. Let's untangle ourselves from the heavy baggage of worldly expectations and seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. So one of the other things I want you to do during this 10-day journey is to write down what's happening to you. What's happening to your body physically, what's happening to your mental state, and what's happening to you spiritually. Because as I've said in the introductory video, the first 3 days will be the worst. The second day and the third day is going to be the worst. It'll be the worst. Write it down. In fact, why don't you make comments on this video? Put some comments in the comments section and tell us what you're going through. And every day, do that. Tell us how you're feeling, because I'll be leaving these videos up and there's probably going to be somebody in 3 months or in 6 months or in 2 years or 5 years or whatever who's going to see this video and decide to do it. And if there's a whole heap of comments about what you're going through, it will help them. Particularly when you get to day 5 and day 6 and your comments are like, man, I feel so good. I feel so young. Oh, my boss reckons I'm looking good today. You know, so keep the comments coming, but also keep a reflection or a journal for yourself. So in that journal, write down the Bible verses, James 4:1-4, 1 John 2:15-16. Write down these verses, read them yourself. Read Isaiah 58. Read about the 2 billion people on earth that don't have any water. And ask yourself this question for today. What worldly desires are controlling me? All right, that's day 1. Looking forward to day 2. May God give you strength. God bless you all. Shalom.